So that's what I did last week, and I'm preparing to make a pattern. So I have I'm gonna do something like this. Oops, I ruined my, so this is my little quick sketch, okay? So I wanna do a little fun neckline like that. So it's not a classic scoop neck, but it's got a scoop effect. So you guys can do whatever you want. If you wanna do, you know, the classic scoop neck like this, you can. If you want to do something more like the one I did in my the sewn sample, something like that, you can. You don't have to go really low. If you want to make it more like kind of like this, you can. So you can play with the design a little bit. Yeah, so I'm gonna do something like this. I'm gonna try that, and finish drawing this in. So always start with a little sketch for yourself. Figure out what you want to do. At least it doesn't have to be permanent, but think about it first. What I want to do, a quick look, kind of like Project Runway, I guess. They'll like sit there and do the little sketch. It might change, but at least you kind of have an idea. You have a starting point. So, and then I'm just gonna line up my, you're gonna all need this. So if you've turned it in, you'll have to come and grab it. Get your guide and lay it out. You don't necessarily need, you're not gonna need to use that, so you can move it out of the way if you want. And I'm just gonna start tracing, kind of like what we always do. We trace off our sloper, and I'm just drafting right now. So I'm not making a final pattern. I'm making a draft. And this is a fitted garment. So, you know, there are blocks that you can make that are dartless, that, you know, for a looser fit. Because, I mean, people don't really dress like this that much anymore unless they're doing evening wear. But, you know, once you learn how to make something fitted, it's really easy to make something dartless without. So we start up here, and it's easy to like work our way down, right? Start with the hardest, the most couture, the most high-end, and you can always water it down. So that's how I'm always trying to teach you guys. I'm always going to teach you the hardest, the highest, the most couture, and then you can water it down and like go easy outside of class. So I've traced it. I want to transfer the apex. So I traced it all around. I've got my dart legs, my armhole notch. Make sure you get your apex. So now I kind of have an idea of what my neckline's gonna be. So that's important because we only want to transfer the guidelines that intersect our new style line, our neckline. So if I know that I want to do something that's, so the one that I showed you, the muslin, my sample, it's a 4-inch drop. So I brought that neck down 4 inches, so to here. And then I decided how wide I wanted my shoulder to be, and I wanted it to be like 1.5 inches. And then I just kind of like drew in my new neckline. So with this, I want to be a little bit lower. I don't want to get down too low, so I think I'm gonna like start here, maybe like 5 inches down, and I'm gonna just kind of like, I like just kind of drawing on this a little bit, and then I know I don't want my strap to be too narrow. So, you know, I'm designing right now. You're having fun, you're designing, kind of figuring out, maybe it's like 1.5 inches. So like here. So I'm gonna come down. I want this to be kind of shaped. This. So I'm not really getting into this one so much. I want to kind of avoid that one. I'm only getting into this one. So you can see I'm intersecting that guideline. You guys all see that? Yeah. I'm not really getting into that one too much there. So I'm only gonna trace this guideline. So if you like using the tracing wheel and just tracing over the manila and it transfers the little dots, that's fine. It doesn't work for me. I like using the carbon paper, so that's just the way I do it. If you don't need to do it that way, that's fine. You can just skip using the carbon paper. If you can see the lines through to the paper with your tracing wheel, that's fine. So I'm going to trace this all the way through, and I'm going to trace a little bit of my bust radius too. I'll push this down. I want to see where this bust radius is, so I'm just tracing just a little bit of it, okay? Make sure this is on. And then I'm gonna finish tracing this all the way to the apex, so I have it. I'm also gonna transfer the sides because I want to bring it in a little bit. So I've got that one, I've got this one. I'm not cutting out the armhole. So this is for if I'm cutting in, and these two guidelines, if I were to change my armhole and like bring it like this, that's when I would activate these guys. Does that make sense? Can you guys all see that? So if my armhole was coming like that, but I'm not doing that. I'm only playing, everyone for this assignment, you're only playing with the neckline. We're not adjusting the armhole, right? We're just playing with our neckline, seeing where it's coming in. If your neckline's down here and you activate and you get into these guys, then you're gonna need to make your adjustment with these two, which is what I did here. Okay, so I'm just doing this one for now. I recommend being simple for this first time that you guys are doing it. Okay, so I have my guideline. The first thing I'm gonna do is trace out my dart. So remember, this dart is all the way to the apex. It's not backed off or anything. So to make it a final pattern, you have to back it off. So I always find the center of the dart and then draw a line through the center. So it's 3 inches. So I can't really back anything off until I have the center. So you always need to do that, and then I can back it off. So I'm gonna back it off an inch or a ½ inch is kind of the standard. So again, that's something you can play with, what you like. So that's my new dart, and I'm gonna redraw in my legs.
For the new dart, do you need a different color?
No, it's okay. Right now I'm just drafting too. I'm just drafting. There's my new dart. And I'm gonna draw these guys in, this guideline that I just traced. Drawing that in. And actually I'm gonna trace my little neckline that ooh, this is new paper and it's messy, dirty. I don't think I'll be using it again. So I'm gonna kind of trace this out. And I also have my shoulder slope in here too, so I'm gonna trace that. So now I'm going to redraw my shoulder because I do want that. The strap is kind of narrow, right? And I want to bring it in tighter to the shoulder, otherwise it gets loose, right? So that's why we have these guidelines. So now I'm just gonna, you can either use your rulers. I like to just sort of draw it in, sketch it in, so I can see what's happening, and then I go back and true it up with my ruler. But it's gonna get altered when we do our pivot and transfer, so I don't really need to true it up all the way. Alright, so I need to take in where that guideline is. So I have to slash up to the apex, and I'm going to cut this out. Before I cut it out, I'm going to draw in my sides. So that's my new sides. Sorry, you guys. So in order to do the pivot and transfer, I need to cut this out a bit. So that's what I'm doing. So you get, I'm gonna pick this outside guideline, just the one closest to the center front, and I'm gonna cut only to where my new line is. So I kind of just roughed in where I want my new neckline to be, right? Actually, I need to go all the way down to the apex. What am I talking about? And now I'm gonna pivot it closed. There and tape it in.
And you're doing that because you don't want the dart on the top? That's what you're doing that because you don't want the dart up the top? Or?
So what we're doing is we're taking in like a pinch of ease. So that's what all these guidelines are. They're just taking in some a pinch, so that there isn't that gaping. Does that make sense? So yeah, so it wasn't a dart, it was a pinch of ease, and you cut on the straight line, cut up to the apex, slice through the dart, cut up on the straight line, and then you close that up and tape it, and then we transferred it into here. So now I can trace over this.
And so your dart would be more open, right?
Yep, so this gets bigger, and it's literally pivot and transfer, just like when you guys did your 2-dart, you had that 2-dart block, and I had you guys transfer the waist dart into or the side dart into the waist. Same thing. I'll do it again. You guys. I'll do it faster. Guideline. Put this on. And the more guidelines that you fall into, the more times you have to slice, pivot, transfer. That's why I'm saying keep it simple, because I want you guys to just work with that neckline right now. Next week we'll do a halter, and it gets more complicated, so there's more steps. So more steps to the draft. So like there's draft part 1, draft part 2. So I traced it, marked my notches, did my apex. So now I want to see, I want to do this sort of like sweetheart neckline, sort of Marilyn Monroe. So I'm gonna go, it's gonna eat into my shoulders, this shoulder slope's activated. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace that off. And this neckline cutout is activated, so I'm gonna trace that. So I need to trace it all the way down to the apex, okay? Don't get confused and just trace it to where your style line is. You wanna trace it all the way down. So you wanna trace this exactly the way you have it. And this one is a straight line. And then I'm gonna copy a little bit of my bust radius just so that I know where it is as I'm designing. And now I'm gonna rough in my new neckline that I have on here. Okay. So I'm gonna draw this dart in. And I wanna mark the center. And then I'm gonna draw in my guideline. So this side of the guideline's angled and this side is straight. And here's my new, you know, just kind of a rough drawing of my new neckline. And here's my new shoulder. And I also want to do my side ease, which I forgot to mark, but that's a half, right? I know what that is. That's easy.
Because you created a new shoulder slope, you need to do another one on the back slope.
Yeah, we're not doing the back right now, so don't get confused, but yes, whatever this is on the front, I want it, so whatever my measurement is, you know, it's 1 3/4, so I got to do the same on the back. Yeah. And I got to think about like what my shape of my back is going to be. Is it going to mimic this somehow? Is there going to be a continuity, or is it just going to be straight for the back? So I'm using 1, 8, and 7. Okay, that's it. So now I got to cut. All right, so I need to cut this out in order to do the pivot and transfer. And this is just the front. I was gonna do the back on Wednesday. I was gonna do the back and the facings on Wednesday, but so that you guys have time to work on this in class. Almost done.
The facing is for the neckline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have to. So the facing is going to depend on what your style is. So once you start drafting, then you'll be able to figure out what your facing is going to be and how simple you want it to be. So my facing is going to be a little complicated for this one because I'm doing a more unique neckline. But if you're just doing this really simple neckline, then you can just do a very simple facing. Just depending how wide this is, if it's 2 inches, I mean, at least you need to have a 1 inch facing. So you'll do a facing like that. This, I'll probably do a facing that's kind of goes, it'll cover this entire part. All right, so now I slash up the center of my dart all the way to the apex. You don't have to add the dart legs in yet. Do that at the end. Do this first. And then I'm going to just close this up like this. So see this distance here, whatever, this is where my new neckline is. Does everyone see that? Just, so whatever the distance is here, because it was a 1/4 inch here. Now it's slightly smaller. So whatever that distance is, that's what I'm closing. So this line has to come up to this line. It's not going to match perfectly. Some of you had shoulder darts that you had to pivot out, and when you put the shoulder back, it wasn't matching, and you were like, "Is it supposed to be like that?" Yeah, it's going to look like that. It's not necessarily going to intersect perfectly. That's why we have to true it. So I'm just going to take this point here, where my paper's cut, and move it over to where that line is right there. So that's exactly where it needs to be. And I just moved that extra ease into the dart. That's exactly where I want it to be. And then you tape. So now that neckline has a pinch of ease in it, so it's not going to be gaping, right? You don't want it like cupping out. So after I do that, then you can take your French curve and and clean it up. So this one's not that bad. It's not that far off. So if it's really off, you just split the difference. So like if one line is up here and one line's down here, you just go through the center. Okay, but this one's not that bad. So, and I want this sort of a heart-shaped neckline. So I'm going like that. And this is where you get to play. This is where you're the artist with your ruler. And you know, it's a skill. You just kind of have to get practice at it. This is going to be really hard to sew too, because there's that sharp point right there. So, you know, I don't know. You guys try to make your design simple for now, okay? Don't try to be crazy and fancy. So there's my new neckline, and now what I can do is I can lay this on top. So there's different ways to skin a cat, you know. You can, I want you guys to go, so this is my draft, so you can write draft, because I need to see your work, you know, and go ahead and put in these guys. I need to see the tape, everything, but then I want you to make a final pattern, right? So then you can take your paper and lay it on top and trace it to make your final pattern. You can do that. You can lay it on top and trace it out, or you can cut this out like this. I cut this guy out and finish and tape it on, or not tape it, but trace around it. So two different ways. Lay it on top with the weights and trace around it, or trace on top. So I'm gonna lay it on top and trace around it. And I'll just do it really quick, because I'm gonna assume that you guys know how to do that. So, it's faster if you just put the paper on top and trace it, because then you don't have to cut everything out. But I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to see it very well, so that's why. And then if you do it like this, your draft's not going to, you know, you're going to cut everything off. So just, you can relabel this for me. So this was number 1, and you can label this for me in the draft so I know. So draft, and now final pattern. So tracing it off. And then after I trace it off, then I'm gonna add my seam allowance. And this is how you trace. I don't know if you guys, did you learn how to trace with the dashes?
We just drew it.
Literally traced around it.
You should, when you trace, you dash. You do dashes. This is how pattern makers trace. And then I'm going to transfer the legs like this. I want to transfer my apex. So, I'm going to just use my paper. You don't want to just draw lines. You want to dot. It's faster. It's a better technique. Good. So now I'm just truing it up. So after I trace, then I true it up. So I need to back off. Now I can back off. So, and my dart's bigger now. It's 3.5. So center is like, it's 1 3/4. 5/8, 7/8, right there. So I want this to be as neat as possible, so keep it neat and clean. And then you'll use your rulers to chew everything up. And if it changes a little, that's fine. You can change it a little bit. My shoulder is kind of sloped right now, so actually I'm going to use my French curve because I have that little dip. I just brought it in a little bit. And armhole. And side seam is taken in. So I'm going to add a 1/2 inch all the way around except for on the neck. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch. And this is the technique for adding your seam allowance, using the tip of the ruler like this and using the dashes, doing the dashes so that you can maintain the curve. My shoulder is going to be a 1/2 inch, right? And I'm going to, since this is sleeveless, what should my seam allowance be? Huh? I'm going to make it a 1/4, yeah. So if it's a sleeve, what is it?
Half.
Yeah, but since we're going to call this sleeveless design, and this should be more squared off here, so I'm going to correct that. That's really important on your armhole. Because we had to take it in with the sideys. So I'm gonna just freehand it because my curve's not going where I want it. That's fine. I just want to take a little teeny bit in there so I have a little bit of a squared off. It's gonna be so much easier to sew, and then you can just clean it up with the eraser. Make sure this is a 1/4 inch on my new line. And 1/2 inch right on my side seam, and 1/2 inch here, all the way, and then you just cut it out. What else do I need to add? No, I just added seam allowance, right? I need to add my grain line. So I'm gonna do this, right? Grain line. So mine is gonna be on the fold. Okay. So yours doesn't have to be. It can be on the. You can have a seam. So on the fold, what kind of line is this? It's a bent line, right?
Yes, go.
So here's our symbols, grain line straight, on the fold bent. So I have my grain line, I have my dart. So final patterns have the drill hole. Did you guys do that in beginning pattern making?
No.
You didn't do the drill hole? They didn't have you back this off a half and do the dot?
Circle around it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more of a production pattern maker thing. Oops, circle it in red. So this is the drill hole that tells the sewer where the dart ends, and it's exactly a 1/2 inch below where the dart ends. So I'm gonna have you guys do that just to get you in. That's how they production pattern makers. So this is my dart. I backed it off. That's the apex. This is my new dart. This is the drill hole for the sewer. This is a sewing instruction. So remember, sewing instructions, oh, I don't have that sheet, are on our final pattern. So this is a sewing instruction right here. This is my dart. You don't have to write this on the pattern, okay? This is just for your reference for the demo. But you do need to label it. So the labeling is your name. And then what is this? So this is my style. So I'm calling this, you know, you can call it scoop neck top or heart neck. I'm gonna call it the heart neck top. And it's the front. And it's the size 8. And my cut 1. So cut 1. And then if you want to draw these lines in like this, you can. If you forget, I'm not gonna like mark you off for it, but it is kind of nice. And cut it out. So that's the pattern, the final pattern. I want you guys to sew a test muslin. So that's just the front. Gotta do the back. I'll demo the back on Wednesday. And the facings, how to make the facing. Okay? So I want you to have time to be able to start drafting this right now while we're here, while it's fresh in your minds. Okay? It should just be the 2 steps. You don't have to do just the first draft, and then you can transfer it to the pattern. So remember, don't lose this. And if you want to leave it cut the way I did, you know, you want to leave it without cutting it out and just lay the paper on top and trace that way, that's fine too. It's a little bit faster. Okay. Any questions?
What's the difference now with this one?
Hmm?
What's this one called?
This is the draft.
Okay, this is your draft, but you
No, this is my final pattern.
no, this is your draft right here, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's your final pattern.
Yes.
So you
I'll finish.
adjusted it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the draft is, right? So is that clear to everyone? I'll finish cutting this out because I'm not confusing.
Okay, so I have a question. If
Yeah.
this is, we're talking about a symmetrical pattern right now. Let's just say we're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
I don't wanna jump ahead
You're
too
not
far.
doing anything asymmetrical
But
right
if
now.
we are doing, but if we were to do asymmetric, we would have to open this up, double it up, and open it up. So you're not looking at the sloper center front. You're looking at a complete front bodice.
Yeah. So
And
I didn't.
then-
So I didn't make you guys fold your manila. Like a lot of schools, a lot of pattern makers, they have you fold the manila in half so that when you open it up, you have the full, and they have you trace it to both sides. So, anyway, they'll have you, instead of a half one, they'll have it folded and you'll have to be able to open it up and have the full. Did you guys do that in the beginning pattern making at all? And that is how a lot of pattern makers work in the industry, because if they're doing something asymmetrical, it's really easy to just pop it open, it's there. Or if they need to do some sort of placement design, a graphic design or whatever on the other side, they've got it right there. I thought about having you guys do it that way, but I decided to just have you do a half. So if you want to create full ones for yourself later down the road, for our purposes, we don't need, it uses up a lot of manila, it's a lot of extra work. If you guys want to do an asymmetrical design along the way for one of our projects, just come and talk to me. We'll work it out. We'll have you make the full one so you can do it with that sloper.
Okay, so my question